Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com.
And now this is only a diagram. I will tell you what is a problem in VLAN in any such like in such environment. Now all these things are connected. Correct. You can say these branches are connected. Okay, some sort of like this. Now imagine I do have 50 different departments. Okay, for my city office. In the branch office, I may have some other departments available. Correct. Now remember that every time we are actually understand that I am creating a VLAN. Correct. I am creating a VLAN on headquarter. For example, this VLAN is for my a particular salesperson or something related that. Correct. So I am going to create a VLAN on there, on the headquarter network. Now my requirement is something like this. I would like to also create the same VLAN, correct, to everywhere in the branches, in the city branches as well. Now I'm doing the modification into the VLAN also, correct. Now the problem, you can imagine in the bigger environment, if I have so many routers, 300, 400 switches, 100 routers in a big environment, typically an internet service providers. If I create a single VLAN and your manager say, now look, I do have thousands of switches, create a same VLAN to the thousands of switches. You can imagine what will happen. It's a very tedious and complex job to log into each and every switch and create a VLAN on the top of it. Correct? Now Cisco provided a solution for such kind of situations. Now Cisco do have only such solution. Other provider do have another solution, but the solution which we are thinking right now, or which we are learning, it is a Cisco proprietary solution that is called as VTP. Okay, that particular protocol name is called as VTP, VLAN Trunking Protocol. Okay, this is a Cisco proprietary protocol which we are using. Cisco proprietary means majority this particular protocol works with the Cisco devices. Correct? If I have the mixed up of devices, some routers, some switches from Cisco, some switches from some other vendors, then sorry, it is not going to work. Correct? So this is a problem of some of the Cisco devices. They are not make this particular technology open source, so anybody can use it. So this is somewhat nowadays they are trying to do it. VTP is one of the open source technology which they are sharing with other vendors as well. Otherwise, earlier, if you talk about Cisco 10 years back, they are very strict. They are very stubborn. They want to rule the market of networking. So they are not supposed to do anything. But unfortunately, what happened? There are other companies who's actually developing much more sophisticated solution better than Cisco, and it was open source. So that's the reason Cisco also thinks that if you want to sustain in this market, even some of the technologies, they need to make it open source for everyone. Otherwise, it is a problematic for you. Correct? So let's understand what VTP can do. Okay, and how we can use this VTP for our purpose. If I say, okay, now VTP actually help you to update your VLAN information to every switch which is the part of that network. Okay, remember that VLAN is a protocol who can take your entire VLAN information and give it to each and every router, or sorry, each and every switch, and ask that particular switch to go for your VLAN configuration. So you can, if I modify any information onto that particular switch, then you would be able to do that with the help of this technique. Correct? Now let's understand. I will create a small topology over here. Okay, now I think I will take this would be my first core switch. This would be my another switch. This would be my okay, I believe. Okay, let's understand. This is my core switch. Okay, this is my core switch. This is my distributed distribution switch. Correct? Okay, and this is my access switch. This is a basic switch. Correct? And look at what I'm doing actually. Okay, so I'm creating this small same kind of a network over here. Okay, I'm connecting all the devices together. Okay, now let's say this is my access switch. Okay, this is access layer switches. This is my distribution layer switches. Okay, now understand what is my requirement. My requirement is very simple. This is my headquarter. Correct? This is my headquarter, and I will create a VLAN over here. Correct? That's a VLAN should be also created in a distributed switch. It should be also created in access switch. It should be created to every particular network switch which is the part of your domain. Correct? If I say I want to delete that particular VLAN, it should also get deleted from every particular switch. So rather doing a manual process, VLAN trunking protocol will do certain things. I said certain things: modification, addition, and deletion. These are the things which can be done automatically, not other things. Okay, adding the ports and everything, that should be done manually. Correct? Remember that what actually VTP will do, VTP work on a concept called as VTP advertisement. Correct? VTP advertisement means any changes which happen, these switches would be transferring VTP advertisements across the network. If there is any changes happen, he would be able to do that particular change. You cannot delete anything from your clients. Remember that you cannot delete it from. If I'm configure VTP, I need to configure 3 different mode. One has to be a server. Correct? That particular mode is called as server mode. Okay, there are 3 different modes are available. One is called as server mode. That means whatever I can update over here, modify over here, delete over here, add over here, this would be server. So everything would be working from his angle. Okay, second mode would be client mode. Client is nothing but our client, where whenever he send a VTP advertisement, my client will take that particular advertisement and do the things accordingly. Client will not do any kind of these activity in the VLAN anymore. Correct? You are not supposed to do that. And third mode is called as transparent mode. Now in a transparent mode, what exactly he will do, if any VTP advertisement, mean if any changes happened over here, correct? He said add a particular VLAN. And if my this switch is in transparent mode and this switch is in a client mode, and these are my all client mode VTP, then what transparent mode will do, whenever he receive any kind of VTP advertisement, he will read it, he will process it, but he will not do any action on it. That means if I created any VLAN on the server and that request will go to the switch where you are configured transparent mode, he will read that particular VTP advertisement. Correct? He will not create any VLAN which is the part of your server now. He will only forward that request to the next client. Means you can say this is a forwarder. You can only read it, and the process means what he is doing, he is sending that particular request to the next device. That's it. So this is called as VTP. Correct? VTP is very important when you are using thousands of switches and you do not want a manual process to be there. Now we do have one more better features. Better than VTP, we do have a concept called as automation now. Correct? You might heard about the concept or a tool called as Ansible. You might heard about the tool called as Chef. Correct? Now I can do the same thing with the help of automated scripts. Just provide the necessary input to that username, password, write down the logic and push all the changes directly from a single point of server. That's it. Correct? Even we don't require such protocols to be developed. Now we do have multiple automation tools who can also do the same job with very sophisticated fashion. Full control is also available in your particular device. Correct? But let's understand what are the proprietary protocols which is the part of this particular training. So what we are going to do, we are going to configure VTP across our network. By default, VTP is running. However, the default mode for the VTP is a server mode. Currently, if I see the VTP status, every VTP do have a server mode running on the top of it, correct? I told you that if one is server, the other we can configure as a client, or other one can be configured as a transparent, correct? One more interesting thing I would going to explain you before you do the configuration. You have to provide some domain name while configuring your actual VTP. Remember that, correct? Now, domain name is nothing but a single entity. Remember that this is very important aspect. This is a single entity.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
So VTP only work with a single domain, correct? If I mismatch that domain name in your network while configuring that, then your VTP advertisement will not process, correct? Because while configuring the VTP, he will ask me two major things. He will ask me, give me the domain name. So I have to think and create a one logical boundary, and that logical boundary we can call it as domain name, correct? I will say my domain name is nothing but cisco.com, and I have to make sure that all these particular networking switches which you want to use it should be the part of that domain. Then VTP will fully do the advertisement under that particular domain, correct? Then first we will configure this particular switch as a server. Now this distributed switch we will configure as a client. This also called as client, correct? Remember one more interesting thing. VTP protocol is actually sending VLAN information in the form of VTP advertisement, correct? So all these ports which we are connected, these all port has to be a trunk port. Otherwise you are configured VTP over here, and any of port which is not a trunk port, then your VTP advertisement would not be reached on that device. That device will not process it, correct? So remember, these are so many crucial points which you need to remember while you are configuring and implementing any solution. Okay, so let's do it, this solution quickly. Okay, because we need to understand one more concept under VTP only, that is called as Vtp pruning. Okay. So this is my switch number 18. So this switch would be my particular server. So if I say enable show VTP status, okay, currently as per the information I am using the VTP version 2. Okay, maximum VLAN locally support is 255. Don't worry about that, we can change this value. Currently how many VLANs are available? It's a 5 VLANs, correct? Now the 5 VLAN is the default, and rest of the 4 the one which is by default created. Currently what is the mode which is available? Currently it is server mode, correct? Now domain name is nothing because we have not configured anything. Vtp pruning mode, currently by default it is disabled. I told you we need to make it enable over there, correct? Otherwise that's fine. VTP v2 mode is also disabled. Don't worry about that. We don't want to go so many deep dive on to that particular protocol. Now let's try to configure the VTP on this machine. I would say VTP VTP. Okay. Now I would like to choose the mode first. Okay. Then you can choose domain. Then you have to set the VTP password if you want, because this information which is actually flowing across the network, you are putting some authentication over there. Without that password, you are not supposed to read that advertisement. It is an authentication mechanism. But remember that you have to put the same password across the network. If this password is mismatched, it is not going to work. Domain is mismatched, password is mismatched, your mode is mismatched, the advertisement would not reach that particular point, and your purpose of the using VTP would not be served in that case. Correct? So first we will see VTP domain. As we decided, our domain would be cisco.com. Correct? Now I would say VTP mode. Now VTP mode is already a server, but we are just changing it back. Then say VTP password. I would say Cisco. Correct. Now it will create a VLAN database. If I see here, if I say show VLAN, now whatever VLAN which we have over here, okay, it will create a file called as vlan.dat. Okay. This file contain all your VLAN information. This file is currently on your flash. Whatever flash memory which we are using, that particular flash does contain this VLAN information. That's great. Now close this. So my server is done. Now I would like to configure this particular switch as a client. Okay. I will say this would be distributed switch, but this is a client. That means my particular VTP client. Okay. So this is client. So I will go to this switch, go to CLI, enable config T, correct? VTP mode, VTP domain cisco.com. VTP mode should be client. VTP password Cisco. Okay. Okay, this is client is done. Now, this is also a client. VTP domain cisco.com. VTP mode is a client. VTP password is Cisco. Okay. VTP domain is cisco.com. VTP mode is client. VTP password would be Cisco. Okay. So this is all client has been configured. Now this would be something different, the transparent mode. Okay. What is the transparent mode? I said the transparent mode where he will receive the VTP advertisement. He will not do the processing on his own switch. He will only forward that request to the next switch. Okay. So any any VLAN creation request is received to the transparent. He know that I need to create a VLAN, but transparent mode will not create anything. He will simply say, okay, there is someone who asked me to create a VLAN, but I just want to forward it. I just a transparent mode. I should not create anything. So I will configure this mode as a transparent. Okay. VTP domain cisco.com. VTP mode would be transparent. VTP password would be Cisco. Correct. Now this what I would like to check as a client. Enable domain VTP would be Cisco.com. VTP mode would be VTP. One more, you're not supposed to forget it, that your these port has to be trunk. So this is what port number fast Ethernet 02 and fast Ethernet 01. So I need to make it trunk. So I would say conf interface fast, or I will go for range. Interface range fast Ethernet 0/1/2. I would say switch port mode. Okay, automatically this will also trunk. On this switch, this particular port, fast Ethernet 2, it should be interface fast Ethernet 0/2 switch port mode. Okay. So ultimately this will be trunk. So fast Ethernet 2, we will go here. Interface fast Ethernet 0/2 switch port mode trunk. Okay. So automatically this will be also trunk. Now this is the last switch. So fast Ethernet 02 interface fast Ethernet 0/2 switch port mode. Okay, so wait for some time. Let it become green. Okay, few couple of more minutes. Okay, then we will see how it works. So if I say exit, show VTP advertisement. Okay, we can call it counters. Okay, currently summary advertisement received. Advertisement summary. Okay, he already sent some advertisement. He keeps sending that information. Okay. So what we can do right now, I will create a VLAN over here right now. I will create a VLAN by the name of Capgemini, I would say, now look where I'm creating. I'm creating on the server. Okay. Remember that I'm not creating on anywhere. I'm just click onto the server and I'm creating VLAN 1000. Name is Capgemini. Correct. Exit. Exit. I would say show VLAN. You would be able to see the 1000 Capgemini VLAN I have created on the server. Correct. Now let's check whether it's same VLAN is coming on the client or not. So VLAN. Okay. Let's see on the client. Do we have a Capgemini? Yes, it is. Look at this last client and also check whether that same updated information is also available. I would say,
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
yes, it is also available. So you have created over here, but it is replicated everywhere because VTP advertisement messages will take all the updates and will make sure that that update should be applied to all the VTP client. Now slight change, this particular switch we are converted into the transparent mode. Okay. You can see I won't be able to see any Capgemini VLAN. However, there is one more switch attached over here, which is a client. Okay. Let's see the information is coming over here. Yes, it's correct. So this transfer mode, what he's doing, he's sending all the information to the next client, but he would not be able to do any action in this particular VLAN. Now, if I create a VLAN over here, now this is a client, correct? I said VLAN 200. Now, what he's saying, VTP VLAN configuration not allowed. Means if you are in a client mode of your VTP, you won't be able to create any VLAN on that machine. Correct? So it will just create a VLAN, deletion of the VLAN, modify anything into the VLAN. It would all update would be going into the respective switches. But you have to add the port into that particular switch. Remember that you have to add the port into that particular switch. Now let's go to here into the transparent mode, and I would say exit. I would say VLAN 200. It is only possible in a transparent mode that you can create a VLAN. Now I will say yes. Correct. So I have created VLAN over here because it is in a transparent mode. But is that affect anything to the client? Okay, let's see. Nothing. Is it affect anything to the server? Nothing. Only the transparent mode. Yes, we have seen that in extended VLAN, the only transparent mode is allowed to create the extended VLANs. So transparent mode will not send anything. He can create his own VLANs. No problem. It will not get updated to the server or it will not update any client. He can only manage his own VLANs over there. Correct? Now this is a concept of VLAN. Now there is a small concept which we need to understand that is called as VTP pruning. Now this is very important technique to save the bandwidth which is happening. Now by default VTP pruning is disabled, which we have seen over here. If you can see show VTP status, you can see VTP pruning mode is disabled. Unfortunately, in our this simulator, VTP pruning option is not working. I cannot make it enable. But I will tell you what exactly VTP pruning will do. If I configure any VTP pruning over here, what exactly VTP is doing? VTP is sending so many bandwidth itself in the term of advertisement, as well as my computer is also sending too much broadcasting messages. My VTP server is sending too much broadcasting messages. Correct? There might be some other applications are sending too much broadcasting messages. Broadcasting means the switch port will send it to every particular port of your switch. Correct? What VTP pruning can do, that will save your bandwidth. So any broadcast message, if VTP pruning is enabled, now this is a feature in VTP only, but it will help you to save the bandwidth. It does not only affect the VTP advertisement, it will also affect many things. Correct? So understand, if let's say this is my switch and this switch connected, there are some computers connected over here. Correct? So understand, if I have some computers connected over here, that's absolutely fine, but I'm connected only on single port. Now what VTP pruning feature can do, if any broadcast is coming to any particular switch, and if it does not have VTP pruning enabled, which is a by default behavior, my switch will immediately send that broadcast to every single port of the switch, and every single port need to actually process that particular broadcast. Isn't it? Yes. But any given point of time, nothing is connected to that particular port. My port are idle. Nothing. No wires are connected to that port, but still I need to send a broadcast to that particular port because that is a broadcast message. VTP pruning helped me to reduce this, means to stop it. If any broadcasting message will come, he will only send that broadcast to that port where any end devices is connected. Whether he should take it, whether he should discard it, that is his responsibility. He would not unnecessarily send the broadcasting message to any other empty port on your switch. Correct? This particular feature is called as VTP pruning. What is the by default behavior of our switch to broadcast? If he received any broadcast message, my switch needs to do the broadcast. But if I have a VTP pruning enabled, I will put one more filter on the top of it. And that filter says, if your port have a device connected to it, if your port does not have a device connected to it, he will check that. And that broadcast will send only to that particular port where the device is, that particular port do have some connection. Now people ask me, what if that particular machine is turned off? That's fine, but you have a wire connected to that particular port, correct? And if the particular port is turned on, then definitely there has to be some signals. VTP pruning is so smart, if he won't find any signal, device is connected, but if it is turned on, it's fine. But if it is turned off, he will also stop broadcasting to that particular port as well. Means empty port or the port is not active. If the device is connected but device is turned off, any such port, he will try to stop the broadcasting to be happening. That will save our lot of bandwidth which your switch is actually required. Correct? So understand, this is very important concept which we required in order to make sure that how to save your bandwidth. Correct? Is it clear to everyone? Every VLAN concept which we have seen, the VLAN concept, native VLAN, VTP, extended VLAN, then SVI configuration, voice VLAN, router on stick method. Is it clear to everyone, or are you guys do have any questions, any doubt in this? How to assign multiple VLAN in a single port? Divya. Okay. Now I told you, Divya, that if it is normal VLAN, okay, you cannot assign a single port to multiple VLAN. It's one-to-one mapping. Correct? But in case of voice VLAN, okay, I am able to map a single port to voice VLAN and data VLAN. That means that VLAN can carry data as well as voice. But in a normal case, you cannot create any particular VLAN which is having a single port. It is not possible. It's one-to-one mapping. One single port is the only the part of that VLAN only. Is there anything else? Any other questions? Okay, that's great, Divya. But just don't worry about voice VLAN. If you want have voice VLAN and data VLAN to be assigned on a single port, do it, no problem, it is possible. But in terms of your particular this VLANs, normal VLANs, it is not possible at all. Okay, any more questions regarding VLAN concept? We are going to understand, it's called as spanning tree protocol. Okay, I will tell you what is a spanning tree protocol is, what is the purpose of that spanning tree protocol, what are the problem he actually resolved, okay, and how it is actually works. So these concepts are very much important because STP is again a protocol which is running on your system, on your Cisco switches. So let's take a switch, correct? And let's take another switch, correct? Look at carefully what exactly I am doing right now, correct? Now let's say if I connect the wire from this switch from here to here, correct? I have connected a single wire. So what is the traffic which is generated by this switch? Okay, let's say I do have multiple switches, computers connected on this particular end, and all the traffic is coming from this switch. It is going from this switch to this switch. Agree? It could be a VLAN traffic, no problem. So whatever VLAN traffic is generated by switches, they are able to share the traffic. Now, where is the problem here? The problem would be, what if this cable which I have connected in between these switches, it is gone bad due to some technical reason? What will happen? My entire network would be down. Then what is the solution for this? The solution for this is, can I create or can I connect one more Ethernet cable between these switches? You can do that. That is a good idea. So what you can do, you can connect one more cable between this switch to this switch. Correct. Now see what exactly happened. If I connected something like this, what would happen? Okay, you can see some amber color lights are there, correct? Now he's actually doing some processing. Okay. But my main reason in order to connect the wire is to provide the redundancy on some failure, correct? Now you can see what exactly happened. You can see I'm able to transfer the data from here to here, but I cannot be able to transfer it here because I do have some blockage over here. This particular thing is blocked, correct? I cannot transfer anything over here. Now the reason behind why it is blocked, the reason behind it is a STP. It is spanning tree protocol. Actually, spanning tree protocol.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Blocks this particular port actually, correct? Now why it is like that actually, but I want this particular things to be redundant, then how could I do that? Now technically speaking, normally when STP protocol was not there, what we used to do it, we connect the wire and we turn off this, shut down this port. Okay, now what is a problem if this wire is green, this particular point is green? If there is no STP protocol at all, what will be happening in that case? If I say I don't have any STP protocol developed, but I want to connect my two switches in order to provide the redundancy at the wire level or redundancy at the port level, and STP is not there, what will happen? Now, very important thing, by any chance, okay, if say I said I do have some computer connected over here, I do have some computer connected over here. Okay. Now, let's say I would like to make sure that this computer sends some ARP traffic or any particular broadcasting traffic. What will happen? I said the condition is I don't have a STP protocol at all. Correct? Now this computer wants to send broadcasting traffic to switch. What will happen? This both the ports will start sending the broadcasting traffic to this switch. Correct? He will send it to here. He will send it from here. Once again, this guy will say receive the traffic because currently it is amber color, but if STP is not there, it is a green color. Then what will happen? He will send the broadcasting here. He will also send the broadcasting here. His broadcast will reach over here. Whatever broadcast he sent, he will reach over here. So ultimately, it will create a huge loop of a broadcast stream. It's continuously doing broadcasting. Why? The only reason is this particular port is open. You don't have an STP, spanning protocol, that will generate a broadcast stream. This is the first problem. Second problem would be, what if a computer, okay, I do have this computer and I do have this computer. This computer send the data from this to this computer. He send the data here, correct? Now in this particular MAC address table of the switch, he will identify this computer can do have dual MAC address because I can reach to this computer via this port. So I do have a MAC address of this port. I can reach to this computer via this particular port, that means there is a problem in the MAC address database as well, because one computer I'm connected through this, correct? So possibly I would be able to send the data on both the lines, and ultimately this computer will get 2 copies of the data from this particular computer, correct? So in early days when STP was not there, we are supposed to connect something like this, no doubt about it, because I would like to make sure that the redundancy should be maintained, no problem. We are using something like this. The only way we are supposed to use it like this, we need to shut down this port on the switch. And the moment when the failure happens, there is little bit downtime. We need to turn on this particular switch, this particular port, not a switch, this particular port. We just need to turn it on. Means we just need to shut down that port and we just need to turn on that particular port. So that is the only activity which we need to do it in case when STP protocol was not there. But nowadays the STP protocol is there in order to avoid such kind of broadcast room, such kind of duplicate frames, such kind of fuzzy MAC addresses, MAC address databases, because your switch will get confused that he is having duplicate MAC address for same destinations, correct? So this is something a problem. Now these all problems has been resolved by spanning tree protocol. Currently you can say ultimately this particular port has been blocked. I cannot send anything to here, nothing can be reached. So only way I can go here, it's only one line. Now what if this line is filled? He will automatically switch over the line, correct? So this all beautiful facility would be provided by the spanning tree protocol. But how he will block that port? What is the logic? How it works? So in a simple manner, I would like to understand how this particular thing works. So how STP works. Now here is little bit complex process to understand if you are dealing with STP for the first time, correct? So we will take a scenario and we'll understand how this entire process work, correct? Actually there is a 3 steps process. Now the first step is nothing but selecting the root bridge. This is the first step. Second thing, selecting the root port, correct? Third important thing, selecting designated port and non-designated. Okay, so understand this is what the 3-step process which is happening in order to work on STP, correct? Now what is the indication whether my STP is working or not? If you can see, if I connect any switches to any end devices or switch to switch together also, my switch is showing some umber color for some time. Okay, now that umber color is indication that my switch is actually doing some activity. That activity is nothing but listening, learning, and forwarding. Now listening, learning, and forwarding, this process is required 30 seconds. In real life also, it is a 30-second process. So if I connect my particular computer directly to the switch, my switch will not immediately start sending the traffic. I will show you by an example. If I connect here and if I connect the wire from the computer, you can see it is umber color. Now what he's doing actually, he's listening, he's learning, and then he's forwarding. Now this entire process of listening, learning, and forwarding will take 30 seconds. Correct? Why? Because STP is running on this particular port of that particular switch. Every port of your switch do have STP protocol running. Remember that. Now you can see it is green. Now he said, okay, now you are ready to send the traffic to your switch now. So in real life also, it required 30 seconds. Till the 30-second, that light will not goes to green. It is still in the amber color. Correct? So imagine I told you that while discussing the switch's external port, I told you there is no power button on the switch. There is no power button. Initially there was a power button, but afterwards they removed it. Now what if someone goes to this switch and turn off the power for a few seconds and turn it back on? What will happen? Listening, learning, and forwarding on all the ports for 30 seconds. And that's the reason for 30 seconds, your entire switch would be completely down. And if you are running an OLTP environment, online transaction processing environment, that time it would be difficult to handle such situation. Isn't it? Yes, it is. That's the reason why switches does not have any power button. Whatever power they are getting, that is from the main power source. They do not have any separate button on the device itself to turn it off. Correct? The reason is like this. This is the reason behind it. Because STP has to be run, otherwise the looping will happen. Correct? Duplicate framing will happen. And if I run the STP, I need to take care that any given point of a time, correct? If I turn off the switch and turn it back on, for 30 seconds, I need to wait my traffic to transfer to the switch, and switch will start processes. Correct? Now let's understand how STP works. This is very, very interesting. Now I will connect all these three switches together along with a single computer. Okay, I will connect only one computer. Now I will connect all these switches together. Now this is physical ring topology. Okay, and I will connect the computers to the switch. Now look at here carefully. Everything is amber. Now forget about computer. We do not bother about it at this moment of time. The interesting thing is on the switch. Correct? This is interesting thing. Look at these things carefully. Now this is the scenario where you will be able to see there is looping option, means looping could be happened over here. Okay, you can see this is the port which is blocked. If I block this port, looping will not happen. But the question is why, and what is the reason he selected this port? What is the reason he selected this port will stop the entire looping? What is the logic behind it to select this particular port? Now the logic is this three-step process. Correct? The first step is called as to select a root bridge. To select a root bridge. Okay, in a simple word, I would say out of these three switches, I would like to select a switch who can act like a root bridge. What he can act like a root bridge. In a simple word, I want to find out a switch who can act like a master. So out of these three switches, I want to find out who is the master for this entire network. Okay, that master would be considered as a root bridge. Correct. Now, how do I select who is the master here? Now, there is a election process. There is a process called as election. This all election process would be happening when that amber color was there. What they are doing actually, they are doing some election process. They are doing some election process. Correct. Now, what they are electing, they want to find out who is the master or who is the root bridge out of this. To find out who is the master of all these three switches, they are doing some election. Okay, now how they are doing election? Okay, and on which basis he will choose the master? The condition to choose the master is the switch is having the lowest bridge ID. The switch who is having the lowest bridge ID would be my root bridge, or it is called as master as well. Majorly people are called as root bridge. For understanding purpose, I will say the master would be selected with the help of election process, and whose bridge ID, the bridge ID of that switch is lower, he would be master. Now, what is bridge ID? Now, bridge ID is a combination of two number. Okay, priority number and MAC address.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.